Hey good people, and welcome back to the channel. I'm back with another unpopular opinion video, and this time it's from the movie Set It Off. And in this opinion, I will try to provide a persuasive argument regarding the storyline between the characters Stony and Nate. If you haven't seen the movie Set It Off before, then allow me to paint the picture. You see good people, the character Stony was a good woman who had a brother who she felt wanted to go to college, but he couldn't afford the tuition. And in an act of desperation, Stony reached out to Nate, who was an old acquaintance. Nate offered to give Stony the money that she needed if she gave him some of that sweet honey in return. Once again, she wanted the money, he wanted the honey, and I thought it was funny. Lakers in 5. But once their transaction became complete, Nate became one of the most hated characters in Black cinematic history. I mean, the character Nate was put up there with the likes of Mr. from The Color Purple, Charles from The Diary of a Mad Black Woman, and Stephen from Django, just to name a few. Well, good people, it is my opinion that Nate was not a bad character. In fact, Nate was a smart character who made a business decision that was beneficial to him, and he was well within his right to do so. Now, I know there are a bunch of folks out there who may not agree with this opinion, but I promise that the longer I talk, the more sense it'll begin to make. So without any further delay, let's take a deeper dive into the topic. In my opinion, the best way to fully understand what happened between Stony and Nate is to give the situation some much needed context. When Stony came to Nate in this scene, she and Nate already had some dealings before, and Stony knew that Nate would give her the job if she asked. But she also knew that Nate was interested in her on a situationship level. Stony knew all this, and she still decided to appeal to Nate for help. So when Stony went to Nate for help, she initially inquired about how much money she could potentially make while working at his car dealership, and Nate gave Stony a straightforward answer. Stony then switches gears and asks Nate if he can give her an advance worth thousands of dollars before signing any paperwork that would make her employment with Nate somewhat legitimate. We all know that if Nate agreed to this stipulation, that he would be the world's biggest fool, because he wouldn't be able to recoup any of the money from Stony unless there was something in writing stating that Stony needed to pay Nate back by a certain time and date. Furthermore, to everybody out there, try to put yourself in Nate's position. Let's say you were the boss of your own company, and somebody from your past who really wasn't trying to deal with you pops out of nowhere, and they first ask for a job at your company, then ask you for several $1,000s in advance because they were in a bind. Would you A, give them the money and trust that they meant well and would make things square once they got the job? B, completely refuse to give them the money while turning your back on them? Or C, make other arrangements with this person so that they can provide some form of collateral while you wait for the agreement to be fulfilled? I think that most folks out there would choose option B, but Nate chose option C, and I can't say that I blame him. Both he and Stony knew about the situation, and let's call it what it was. Stony thought that she could finesse Nate out some money, but Nate was an old school player, and he made sure that he got his due before he gave away any money that he would never see again. The last point that I want to make is the impact that this business decision had on Stony. After the deed was done, Stony fell into a temporary depression because she sold her body to pay off her brother's college tuition. From the looks of things, Nate only gave her about a good solid 12 pumps of that good old pickle tickle before spilling the baby gravy, which by my calculations means that Stony only had to do 3 minutes worth of work for thousands of dollars. To everybody out there, would you do 3 minutes worth of work for thousands of dollars? We also have to factor in what Stony's alternatives were in making the money. Of course, there was a plan to engage in armed robbery of banks, which is a quick way to make cash, but it also comes with the risk of getting arrested, in prison, or unalived. Stony could have sold drugs or engaged in other illegal activities, but that also would have landed her behind bars or 6 feet under. Stony could have become an exotic dancer and earned the same amount of money over the course of a week instead of 3 minutes. Nevertheless, the moral of the story is that fast money isn't necessarily good money, and Stony wanted that fast money without considering the consequences that come with it. I want to reiterate that Nate is not the villain of the story. He did not approach Stony with the proposition, and when Stony initially rejected the offer, Nate didn't pressure her to reconsider. Stony had the power to say no and walk away at any given time, but she chose not to do that. Now, it would be a different story if Stony had developed an authentic rapport with Nate and she proved that she could help Nate make a lot of money at his car dealership. Then Nate would have likely fronted her the money because he knew there would be some type of return on his investment. But Stony neglected to do that, so here we are. But this marks the end of the unpopular opinion, and I'd like to know what you all think about it. Do you agree or disagree with the opinion? Please leave all comments below in the comment section, and I'll be sure to reply to everybody. Until next time, stay tuned and stay safe. Peace.